After getting kicked out of the studio during the sessions for one of the most revered Christmas albums ever, Brian Wilson would create a Christmas classic of his own. This is the story behind the Christmas hit Little Saint Nick by the Beach Boys.
Behind the Christmas hits with Drew Savage.
I don't think we've referenced any album more than Phil Spector's A Christmas Gift for You in 1963. It has been influencing artists ever since its release. In fact, it started influencing artists before it was even released. Brian Wilson of the Beach Boys has been described as a Phil Spector acolyte. Spector began the recording sessions for the album that September, and Wilson was in attendance. When it came time to record the Crystals version of Santa Claus is Coming to Town, Wilson stepped to the piano and started to play. 1963 was a breakout year for the Beach Boys. Surfin' Safari was their first top 20 hit on the Billboard Hot 100 in 1962. But in 1963, they made it into the top 10 with Surfin' USA and Surfer Girl. B-sides like Lil Deuce Coupe and Shut Down were also charting. Despite that success, if Brian Wilson was the student at this point, Phil Spector was definitely the teacher, and he wasn't having any of what Wilson was playing on the piano that day. So, after several takes that Spector felt were substandard, he ordered Wilson off the piano and replaced him with Leon Russell and Don Randy. Wilson must have been disappointed, but it doesn't seem like he held a grudge. When asked in 2006 to name his favorite albums of all time, Wilson said The Beatles, Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, Pink Floyd's Dark Side of the Moon, and Phil Spector's A Christmas Gift for You. However Brian was feeling that day in 1963, it got him focused on the idea of the Beach Boys doing a Christmas song of their own. That song would become Little Saint Nick. In the book Becoming the Beach Boys, Wilson said, quote, "I wrote the lyrics to it while I was out on a date, and then I rushed home to finish the music." I'm sure his date was thrilled. Little Saint Nick was a holiday hot rod song about Santa's sled, candy apple red with a 4-speed stick. The song's structure is based in part on the hook in Little Deuce Coupe. The line, "Run, Run, Reindeer," was a nod to Chuck Berry's Run, Rudolph, Run. The Beach Boys smartly kept the reindeer's name generic in their song. While Berry wrote Run, Rudolph, Run himself, he was successfully sued by Johnny Marks, who wrote the original Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer song and was forced to share songwriting credits and future royalties with Marks. They recorded Little Saint Nick as a standalone single on October 20th, 1963 at Western Studios in Hollywood. The B-side was a beautiful a cappella version of the Lord's Prayer, which is totally worth seeking out. The song was released December 9th and was just the group's 7th single to date. It peaked at number 25 on the Billboard Hot 100 and number 3 on the Billboard Singles Christmas chart. The success of the song convinced the guys to do what Spector did and record a whole album of Christmas music. They went back into the studio the following June and over a period of 12 days recorded 4 more original Christmas songs and 7 classics. Wilson produced and arranged the originals, while Dick Reynolds, an arranger for the harmony group The Four Freshmen, took the reins on the classics, arranging the music for a 41-piece orchestra the Beach Boys would sing along to. One of the classics they recorded was Santa Claus is Coming to Town, and this time Brian Wilson's piano work was most definitely used. The result? The Beach Boys' Christmas album, their 7th album as a group, hit stores on November 9th and debuted at number 6 on Billboard's Christmas Albums chart. Little Saint Nick is the very first song on the album. Unfortunately, it was also one of the songs Mike Love and Brian Wilson would fight over years later. The Beach Boys have a complicated history. While Brian is generally considered the genius behind the music, his cousin Mike filed several lawsuits over the years seeking songwriting credit he felt he was owed. In the early 90s, he successfully gained credit on 35 of the early Beach Boys songs, including Little Saint Nick. Love has said that he ultimately blames Wilson's father, Murray, who was the Beach Boys' first manager, for excluding him in those credits. Understandably, he still has hard feelings over the fact that Murray sold the publishing rights to the Beach Boys catalog in 1969 at a big discount without the band's knowledge. Despite the legal moves leading a lot of Beach Boys fans to take sides in the fight between Brian and Mike, Love has said because Murray had passed away, his only recourse to get the credit he was owed was to sue Brian. In the end, Love won, and he and Brian settled on a reported payment of $5 million for Love's share of the royalties. As for Little Saint Nick, the song about Santa's hot rod endures. However, it's one of a few Christmas hits that doesn't get covered by many other artists. The Hanson brothers, who had a huge hit with Mbop in 1997, recorded a version of it for their Christmas album. Country group Lady A did the same in 2020 for theirs, but that's about it. Okay, John Denver did it with the Muppets too, but you get my point. And I think it may be because Little Saint Nick is so uniquely the Beach Boys, it's almost impossible for anyone else to duplicate that sound. The original certainly isn't lacking for airplay. In recent years, it's shown up in everything from Ted Lasso to Coke commercials. That signature Beach Boys sound, it's truly one of one, and it's because of Brian Wilson. This can be a tough time of year for families, maybe even your family if you've lost someone in the past year. If that's the case, I've been there. I send you love and strength. As we record this, 2025 will be the first Christmas for Brian's 7 children without their dad. Brian Wilson died on June 11th at the age of 82. Thank you, Brian, and much love to your family. I'm Drew Savage. Thank you so much for listening. You can find me on Instagram at Drew Savage On Air. While you're here, leave us a comment or a review. Maybe even let us know what songs and subjects you'd like to hear future episodes on. And don't forget to hit the subscribe button. It helps other people find the show and ensure you never miss a story behind the Christmas hits.